Yo, welcome back to another episode of Cannabis and Coffee. As you can see, we're no longer in the mud and the cotton patch. We are in the Island Dab Lab. That's right, it's a freaking palm tree outside my door, guys. But yeah, we're here in the Island Dab Lab. This is going to be the very first upload. This is actually going to be the podcast from last Tuesday. We were supposed to live stream. We had several technical difficulties. They couldn't get it to stream live on that day. And in addition to that, these guys record in a totally different way than I do, so I could not get the video to sync up with the sound. I have edited the sound. I've got the sound all together, so I've put some pictures with it. It's a very important podcast, possibly the most important thing we've talked about here. We're going to cover the Senate bill that just got passed that outlawed THCA in the state of Tennessee. We're going to cover the lawsuit that the Tennessee Growers Coalition has got going on. And most importantly, we're going to cover Big Alcohol's sudden appearance on the scene in the weed war. So, guys, get your snacks, get rolled up, get ready to go. It's a long episode, but it's really important conversation. So give it a listen, put it on in your car, put it in your headphones, whatever, man. Let's go. Let's get into this conversation. Stick around to the end, and we're going to talk about some special laws that Clint and Kelly actually had a hand in penning. So be sure to stay tuned all the way to the end for that. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Warning, this video is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. All individuals shown are 21 years or older. All content is intended for adults 21 or older. I am a licensed medical cannabis station. Nothing illegal is shown or promoted on this channel. Anything you see is merely stage props for video production. Again, we don't support any illegal activities. Don't break laws. Change them. Free that plant.
As you can see, we're not back in the Dab Lab. We're here at the Joint Efforts Podcast Studio. I have Kelly Hess and Clint Palmer here, and we're going to be diving into some issues that we got going on in the hemposphere. Y'all know that I'm moving to Florida, and I haven't been posting a lot lately, but I cut out a special day just to do this because it's a huge deal for the state of Tennessee and the hemp industry in general, just because Tennessee is a very important state when it comes to hemp law. So what we're going to be covering is a growing weed war. If you're not familiar with the weed war, there's been a battle between the hemp industry and marijuana companies going on for at least 5 years that I know of now behind the scenes. And that's kind of why I'm on the hemp side of things. We're going to talk about that a little bit. I have some questions for them on that. We're going to cover alcohol's entrance. Big Alcohol has recently swept through the South and ate up the market share for edibles and drinks due to their decline in demand for alcohol. Also, we're going to talk about the current state of the industry here in Tennessee and what's next moving forward for us as a community. So buckle up. We've got some buckle up, stick around to the end. We got some special questions about some laws that Kelly and Clint have actually had a part in penning here in the state of Tennessee. All right. First of all, let's cover the current state of things here in the hemp industry. For you, Clint, I got a question. From a legal standpoint, what is the biggest challenge hemp companies are facing right now at a federal level?
At a federal level,
Yeah.
So right now, federal level, they have I believe it's getting tied into the budget bill. They've thrown some new hemp regulations out, which would be devastating to the industry. It passed a subcommittee, I think yesterday. I believe it passed a subcommittee. I don't know if it's going to pass a full committee, much less make it to the bill. And in politics, lots of times they're just playing political games, too, especially at that level where, if a bill isn't going to pass, then you throw something onto it just so you can stand on it and say, hey, I did this, even though knowing that bill might not actually pass. I think that might be the case here, where you've got someone adding something to make people happy, but there's a good chance that like the big beautiful bill might not fully pass. And so because of that, they're tying something onto it just to, have something to stand on politically. So
Gotcha.
hopefully it doesn't go anywhere. The reality is if that type of wording gets into a federal bill, we are in a lot of trouble because it would remove all intoxicating compounds.
Yeah. See, I've been in the process of moving, so this has been something that's slipped in on us overnight. People are really scared about it. And so I really haven't even had time to look into it because literally everything in my house is in boxes in the middle of the floor, and I have a big dumpster, and I'm renovating the house I live in. I'm in the middle of moving, so haven't been posting, haven't been on my research for the past 3 to 4 weeks due to the moving thing. But this is one that was snuck in on us, and it's rapidly changing. It's not only on the federal level, which we've been a lot more comfortable on the federal level, I'd say. Just state to state, it's hard to really keep up with what's going on because it's a really complicated framework. Now, I got a question for you, Kelly, on the current state of things. So what's the general mood among Tennessee growers today? Are people optimistic, frustrated, or just trying to survive this thing?
Throughout the state, I think everybody is totally frustrated, really, and just trying to survive, trying to see if they still fit in. I mean, we've had some pretty substantial policy changes in the last few years, and it's a roller coaster. And trying to operate
To say the least.
and to operate a small business as that is, it's challenging, and a lot of people are, deciding to quit and. But a lot of people are also just finding new products, pivoting. You have a lot of that too. So it's a mix. But everybody's pretty frustrated generally. Yeah.
I would say so because it's really hard to know where we're going. We had such a clear framework for legality here in the state with this taxes, the age gate. It was, everything was clear. We had a really good legal framework to support the hemp industry. So the whole battle back and forth, we really had a lot of optimism because we had a lot of things that Texas doesn't have right now that were blocked. Like they blocked that age gate so that they could use that card on them to try for the Senate Bill 3 that they got going there. But we were successful in implementing the age gate to do what they claimed to do by, hamstringing the hemp industry. They're claiming to protect children by rewarding the market share to Good Day Farms and Cresco and other companies that are dying to have a bite of Tennessee's pockets.
It's hard to say you're protecting the kids when you're creating an edible market.
Yeah, well, and not only that, you're putting the market share. Let's not forget the elephant in the room. When it's not legal, it's handled by street gangs, and it's going to be directly in the hands of children. We might as well just run around the hood and hand out buttons for Glocks because we're
hand out edibles.
We're transferring that source of revenue to these street gangs that are recruiting these kids and actively, and that's how they fund it. It's known. Everybody knows this, so it's not protecting kids, putting it back in illegal. You're putting it in the hands of cartels, street gangs, and the Chinese, now Armenians. It's
also good old people too. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't point a finger at anyone because if you've been in the game long enough, there's a hillbilly down the road growing in this space.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There is.
But the market's currently dominated by the street gangs, the Armenians, and the Chinese.
TJ, we told legislators this. We told them, hey, you're just driving it straight to the black market. And they would look at you and they'd say,
and it's not a local black market. It's because
it's partially Department of Safety and law enforcement coming in and saying, we don't want this, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of that is based off of the reason that they can't do seizures when it comes to hemp stuff right now. So the fact that they can't take your vehicle on the side of the road because you're saying that it's hemp is ruffling their feathers and really messing with their finances.
Yeah.
Because their finances are generally based, the majority of local county finances are made from Just that.
So just the enforcement of the illegality is generating a huge amount of
Just a huge amount of revenue. Seizure revenue is, and especially in small counties across the state, is the majority of their revenue for their budget.
So it's the main way that just a regular traffic stop is escalated by law enforcement to violate your rights and give you a search and they'll get you there and profile you, and they'll say they smell the presence of something just so that they can search. Because
Well, that's a new one. I say that's a new one because we finally have a case here in Tennessee. Went to the Tennessee Supreme Court, Andre Green case. There's a really good chance that it's going to come up in a local court and set precedent there in the next few months. Hoping to be there for it. But what that is that it was basically finally admitted that officers can't distinctly tell the difference. And anyone that knows the plant knew that.
Yeah. I thought that was already accepted pretty much everywhere. Florida, and I know Florida does. I watch a lot of police bus and do reactions for police bus and traffic stops, and it's always like the first thing they do. Louisiana, they get the driver out. They take their temperature on who the person is. They act like they're your buddy, and if they even profile you as a smoker, they're going to say that they smell it.
Yep.
And then they're going to go from there. They bring out X-ray machines. They're doing all kinds of stuff in Louisiana.
Yeah. So not every state is going to have that, right?
Yeah.
So this is a Tennessee Supreme Court. But what that means is if they don't have anything, they can't see anything, and you're not just an outright asshole. Mm-hmm. They hopefully within this year the legal precedent will be fully set where they can't do that.
Yeah.
But because it will be on the record that they can't tell the difference with their nose or even with their eye is where I want to get to with the eye part, because when you get arrested for cannabis and they put it into the TBI gets involved with Dangerous Drug Task Force, and it's a sample gets sent there. Well, it's literally on the report. It says microscopic and macroscopic.
Oh, really?
You know what that means? They looked at it, and then they looked at it like this and said that's cannabis. That's the macro and the micro, which is not even by definition.
Cannabis, but if it's hemp or if it's marijuana, is what's at question there. Yeah. And the only way to determine that is through laboratory testing. There's no other way possible. Nobody, I don't care what kind of expert you claim to be. The first thing that lets me know that somebody doesn't know anything is that they say they can look and tell the difference.
Or they can smell the difference.
It's not. It gives me a different. It's just different.
CBD varieties to smell like THC varieties.
Yeah, there's some absolutely phenomenal tasting and smelling CBD varieties.
It takes years to breed it to get it tasting good, but it gets there.
Yeah. Well, okay, we've touched on that. Let's jump into this weed war. And now it's a three-way. It was just they kind of snuck in big alcohol. It was just hemp versus marijuana. Now it's hemp versus marijuana versus big alcohol, which is where the big funding is coming from all of a sudden. But I got a question for both you guys to start off with. We've seen the marijuana interests lobbying against hemp. Now the big alcohol's in the ring. What's really happening? What do you guys know that, because it's not anybody's really talking about alcohol jumping in there yet. So what do you guys know about what's happening?
Well, the new law structures the whole hemp industry just like the alcohol industry. It sets it in 3-tiered systems. We're under the ABC. So, it is setting us up for us to be monopolized and, taken advantage of and squeezed out. So, go ahead.
Yeah, the bill was lobbied by liquor
Heavily.
Yeah, the Tennessee Wine and Spirit retailers. And, they came up to me and Kelly after one of the meetings, and he came up to me and he was asking me these really dumb questions. And I looked at him and I was like, that is why y'all shouldn't have wrote a bill for another industry, because you don't have a clue about it.
Yeah.
I looked at Kelly and I said, I have to leave before I start cussing.
Yeah,
I was really mad, because it's like, how do you how you're walking up to me and asking me this a scientific question that you don't have a clue about, yet you wrote the bill.
And they're starting like through the committee
Now the
process.
Yeah, that's getting ready to be law, and then the most frustrating part, TJ, was we had 12 amendments to that bill. The majority of those were good amendments that we had gotten added through committee. And then when we got all the way to the full floor, William Lamberth did the same thing that he had done in 2023 and told everyone he was doing one thing and then got it to the floor and did another. And he did.
Well, imagine that.
Yeah.
And 2019, he tried to kill the flower.
William Lambert, Tennessee people, remember that name?
Yeah. Hopefully he won't be in the legislature too long. What he did was it basically, if I was a legislator up there, and I remember one of them even standing up and mentioning it, that like this was completely going around the entire legislative process, which means that you bring a bill, it works its way through committees, it gets fixed by these committees who are the people that understand it the best. Finance, ag and natural resources. They put people in the committees that understand those things. So the committees are the ones that are supposed to amend them and fix them. And then they go to the full floor. And they might have another small amendment from somebody that wasn't a part of one of those committees, and that'll get voted on the floor. But what William did is he threw out an amendment that rewrote the entire bill and then lobbied the floor for it and ended up getting it passed by 6 votes and didn't have the support of a single other GOP person in leadership. Meaning the speaker didn't vote for it, the pro tempore, who else? There's one more. What was
Jeremy Faison didn't.
Yeah, what is his? What is his?
Representative or Chairman Kevin Vaughn, Representative Ron Williams. They were all on our side.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that that's how much leverage one legislator can have and power. He's just really good at putting people in a spot and confusing the whole situation.
It's a confusing topic already for people that are educated on it. Before we turned on the camera, we were just discussing how I was in Michigan and I was trying to educate hash makers at the Growers Cup there about the hemp industry, and they were throwing word, oh, you mean Delta? I was like, we knew 30 years ago Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol was what we were looking for before before the umbrella of law expanded to cover type 1 cannabis as hemp.
Right.
It's wild to talk to professionals in the industry that don't have an understanding.
Oh, dude, there was a time and a place where the only way that you could learn about this stuff was before the internet. You had to order books. So I remember ordering books when I was like, really.
Oh yeah, I remember
17 ordering the
Mel Frank book, and then 19.
The Guerrilla Growers.
I got Jorge's Bible, and I was like 19, and then the internet came out, man.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Overgrows.
CCC, Cannabis Counterculture.
There was a lot of them.
I was a part of all of them. Yak and Grow. You can find me out there. So that's I did a lot of guerrilla grows. That's what I was.
A friend of mine, he was at the Denver Cup yesterday. He is telling me about one of the High Times writers there, and I'm like, dude. I don't know, Kyle Cushman and Ed Rosenthal were writing the last time that I read.
Donnie Danko.
Maybe, I don't know. He was.
He's since left High Times.
Okay. I think we may have covered this one for you, Clint. It's how are lawmakers responding to the growing tensions between the hemp and the marijuana industries? I think we touched on it a little bit. Is there anything you'd like to add?
A whole lot of that yet here in Tennessee. We have had them register some lobbyists, right?
I think a lot of them have lobbyists and government relations teams. They're monitoring, but not actively lobbying, so they don't have to register. So we don't actually know who is.
They're doing it slick like this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this: you can look across the border in Kentucky at who won the lottery.
Yeah.
This is something I like to talk about. These lotteries, these fake social equity programs that these lawyers just funnel the license straight to Cresco in Illinois. And,
I've watched. I have a buddy up in Minnesota, and but Kentucky totally their lottery. I don't know, they've got it in a lawsuit now, but there's a really good chance that their lottery was completely bunked.
That's
Because I mean, when I watched it live and was sitting there like taking notes because I was so curious to see how this was going to turn out, and it was like my jaw was dropped the entire time they were naming off their people. Like every now and then, be like, "Oh, that makes sense," and then you'd be like, "Oh my god, you gave them a license? Oh my god, you gave them a license?
it's
Oh my
definitely
god,
fun to investigate. You know?
Yeah.
And we've got a whole internet of world of people with a lot of time
Yeah.
on their hands out there.
I will say being up against that industry is completely different than being up against alcohol. Lots of money, sure, on the big cannabis side, but there's even more money on big
Oh
alcohol
yes,
side.
that's why the big surprise that was off the top rope.
And they're very well connected, right? So the cannabis
They've
lobby
locked into everything.
hasn't been around for long at all, but these alcohol lobbyists, they are so ingrained into the government of every state after prohibition that it is to go under them is one thing, but then to try and like get out from there, I think is going to be the hardest part because they're clawing at the money. Liquor industry is and beer has steadily been declining. Cannabis is steadily going up, and they want a piece of that pie. It's just like anything else. It's basic business where they're losing their margins, and they are looking at how they can get them up. If you look around the Tennessee liquor stores in the last 10 years, they're going from only being able to sell liquor to selling cigarettes, selling beer, selling. It's basically
I quit
convenience.
drinking 10 years ago, so I haven't been in.
I don't really go in them either.
Yeah.
They're like little. They're basically it can be a convenience store in there. They can sell whatever in there basically now, including hemp products.
You know what?
So you don't even have to have a license. If you can just have a regular old ABC license when this law goes into effect, you don't even have to do anything special.
That's crazy. You know, I was in the liquor store and I saw a THCA hemp flower ad stuck on the counter. I just remembered I bought me and my coworker at my old job. We bought a bottle of liquor for our dispatch there for Christmas. And I saw that I took a picture of it. It was like some jelly bean flour and there's pictures of buds. I was like, they're selling weed at the liquor store.
Don't mix well.
Yeah. Oh,
You know what I mean? It's like,
let's just make the room spin.
It's consumer safety and their threat, like.
Oh, that's but I'm like there's consumers out there like me.
There's a lot more dangerous consumer safety issues than the combination of alcohol and cannabis going on in downtown Nashville, and that's a topic for a whole nother podcast.
So the problem is you got people coming out of bars buying a pre-roll with lack of judgment because of the alcohol, and then getting the spins and thrown up all over the street.
Yeah.
And like so that's
the public spectrum.
or getting in a vehicle, and where they may have just been slightly inebriated from alcohol. Any police officer, and I completely support them. If they pull you over and they smell the both of them, you're going to jail, and it's for good reason. Because they don't
alcohol. If you're intoxicated and they smell alcohol, you need to. I mean, it's too easy to not drive drunk.
There's functional.
It's too easy to not do it. You know what I mean?
There are people that like. As a police officer, you can say, okay, well, I need to you're passing field sobriety, you're doing all these things, even though I smell it. But if they smell the two of them together, like I know a couple troopers, and I've had tons of fun conversations with them. They're all about cannabis.
Yeah.
But that's what they've told me is and if I smell cannabis, that's one thing. If I smell alcohol, that's one thing. When
they're together,
when they're together, I know that you should
you're
be
driving. Yeah, you shouldn't be walking much.
if you're at a concert downtown and you're able to handle it, and hey, I can smoke cannabis and then drink.
It's one thing if you're riding an Uber where you're going.
Yeah, that too.
It helps when you're not driving.
And if you get the spins, put your foot on the floor. But anyways, So I think once we actually start, if they saw a medical marijuana bill getting traction in our state, very quickly, I think they would be trying to get in the doors of those legislators, which might be a little late for them because they wouldn't have helped fund their campaigns.
Who's to say they haven't been behind the scenes privately lobbying things? Because they're
honestly, TJ, they got to be looking at us going, this is going to be the last one.
Yeah, I think so because Mississippi
Don't even get me started.
and Alabama, that's insane, and Missouri and Arkansas and Kentucky have all fought, and
North Carolina.
South Carolina. It's insane. Okay, on the weed war, question for you, Kelly. Do you think this weed war is about market share or more about safety for consumer protection, like they claim?
Oh yeah, it's definitely to corner that market and make up for their lost revenue share for sure.
Yeah.
Um, it's just it's unfortunate that the legislature bought the lies of consumer safety. Consumer safety. It needs to be regulated. It needs to be regulated. I couldn't tell you how many times we went to legislators' offices and they're like, "Oh, it needs to be regulated," and it's like, we were regulated in 2023.
That's the reason they say that is it's just what everybody says. It's just a lazy answer. It's
exactly.
like, well, we got to figure out the regulations.
It's just going.
And the only regulations we need is to make sure it's safe for consumption and make sure that there's an age gate and that it's protected and that kids aren't buying it.
Yeah.
And then other than that, there's not really anything else to regulate with cannabis. It's more harmless than peanut butter
Right.
at the end of the day.
I mean, you can rewatch,
Especially in smokable form.
right? You can rewatch Senator Briggs's testimony on the bill in Senate, state, and local, and he's just spreading just false misinformation, and he's just
It's hard to watch these.
he's like listing it out, and it's like, that's already illegal.
Did you follow the Senate Bill 3 when it was going through in Texas?
Yeah.
Okay.
They launched
The
the
lady that came out and made the pitch for her halfway house. And I'm going to say pitch, but I'm going to tell you all the stuff that she had to say. Her daughter was so affected by her cannabis addiction. Not only did she had psychosis, she received third-degree burns from a shower because she was so high. It's amazing. She had to have Narcan to be recovered from these episodes of cannabis intoxication.
Oh yeah. She didn't have any other problems,
And
did
then
she?
this woman,
I want to see a drug test.
look,
I want to see a drug
that's
test.
exactly
And I
what
wanna
I'm
see her-
saying.
her
This
mental
girl
health
was a
record.
lot more.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that is a well-known thing. Like if you have severe mental health issues,
Yeah, it can
schizophrenia,
exacerbate those.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
100%.
That's not anything.
but
we
it's
have-
just like anything else. If you know what's not good for you, don't do it.
But if somebody's receiving Narcan, it's definitely there's something going on besides cannabis there.
Yeah.
There's nothing in cannabis that you're going to need Narcan to revive you from.
Every time there's been a DA that said that they had a sample of cannabis that had Narcan in it, I've said
Or fentanyl.
or fentanyl in it. Yeah, I've said prove
It's
it.
something I will cover.
And they don't. And I've been told that like there's some places that like, it's actually happened. I still wait for proof of that because like no one gives away free drugs.
Exactly.
And there's no one that smokes cannabis that really wants adulterated cannabis.
Absolutely not. I'm going to tell you exactly how it happens. You may have not have been in a trap house before where they bust down, but I'm going to tell you how it works. There's going to be a table much like this, and we're all going to break down, and we're all going to bust down and take turns while we're sitting here smoking. We're talking just like we are, shooting shit about whatever, busting down on the table. The guy's going to make his fentanyl packs here, and then the next guy's going to be weighing out zips. You think anybody is sanitizing the scales, wearing gloves? That's all situational. It depends on the group you're with. You can imagine
Yeah, it
that there's
depends.
some
I know
dirty
some good- I know
places.
some good
There's
drug
no
dealers that
there's
use
no
two
purpose.
scales.
Well, they're out there, but I'm telling you,
They want
in
two
just your
scales.
average trap house, it's not an intentional contamination. It's a cross contamination from using surfaces that aren't, sterilized.
I'm just not buying a
And that's-
little
it's-
bit
it's
of
not
dust on a
it's-
scale leading to it showing up and a DA using that. What I see happening is somebody's kid got in trouble. They did a drug test on them.
And they had fentanyl.
They had fentanyl in their system, but guess what stayed in their system for 30 days and is going
Was
to
the
pop
weed.
in there? Weed. So what do they do?
I always smoke weed. I didn't always smoke weed.
It was in the weed. Look, you see the weed right there on the test? That's what I think is
That
happening
makes huge
over
sense.
and over again.
That makes huge sense.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I knew
Because nobody
kids-
gives away free drugs.
I knew kids that would not smoke weed. They would do coke and they would use pills because their mom would smell them for weed.
Well, that's
And so they were doing coke and using pills instead of weed. And I was like,
really
that's
sad.
That's
so sad.
crazy,
That's so
man.
sad.
That is.
That
it
is
really
sad.
I mean,
is.
I
Yeah.
get it for that reason.
I've seen that. Yeah.
But if only they knew that they could vaporize hash.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was.
The people
Wow.
that I've introduced to vaporizing hash are like, Clint, I didn't realize that I could buy a Puffco, rip hash, get super high, and walk into anywhere. and I'm like,
Depending on who you are, some people can't go in public after
some
taking
people
a
can't
fat
do it.
nap.
I'm luckily one of those people.
Yeah.
Really, I don't think there's many places that I haven't been. If you know
I've
what
got
I
a
mean.
pivot, and if do you have a Puffco pivot?
No.
Oh, they're great, man. It'll fit right in your top pocket, and it hits. It's wonderful. Couple Q-tips in your puck, and I'll take a toothpick instead of a hot.
Does it last few charges too?
Oh yeah. You charge it, and you'll get a few dabs out of it for
That's
sure.
all I need is like enough
It's
to like,
it's perfect. I'll carry 2 when I travel. Like if I get on an airplane and go somewhere else, I'll take 2.
just because you know
Because a full size Puffco is too big to carry around. Just walking around like if I'm at a festival.
Yeah.
That way I can swap Puffcos when the battery dies. And
There you go.
gotta get you a pivot, man. Wish I had a Puffco sponsorship, but I don't
We're
think
working on it. We're
I don't
working on
think
it.
they're ever gonna mess with me. They don't like me. I won't jump in bed with companies like that. So I'm not exclusive to any companies.
I mean,
So
we've
that's
in between our group, we've got Puffcos, we've got Cartas. I've got a Dr. Dabber switch. Had it for years.
I got a bunch of different devices, but I love Puffcos, so. But, man, wanted to talk about the Schedule 3 possibilities. This is something that I've been thinking that is a possibility why they've been, kind of shifty in Tennessee. They're waiting to see what Schedule 3 is going on. So I got a question for you, Clint. If marijuana gets moved to Schedule 3, how does that change the game for both cannabis and the hemp industry, or marijuana more likely and the hemp industry?
It could drastically change the Tennessee landscape. The legislators here have always said no because of Schedule 1 federally.
Mm-hmm.
In our state, it's not Schedule 1. It's Schedule 6.
Oh, wow.
Nobody knows that.
Wow. Oh yeah, I do know that because I've been to jail for it here. I'm a felon 3 times in the state of Tennessee for it. Yes, yeah.
It is schedule-
You look at the
controlled
schedule,
substance
it's like
X1
they make it
on your
real
chart.
easy for you to, unfortunately I know these charts very well.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of time to look at them.
them.
Knock on wood, I've never gotten
I had them
one.
in a folder.
Grown a lot of it, somehow managed to still be sitting here with you. But some major difference there is that the legislators will, I think, look at that, and I think that'll give us a little bit of ground to take up with them that we haven't had.
It'll open up banking.
It'll open up banking. I think there's, a lot of people think there's some bigger cons to it than.
I think they really.
But I think we've got a lot of pessimists in the cannabis space,
Yes.
in the younger generation
also
that
get
don't
real
realize
scared.
how far we have come from brickweed full of seeds and
To actually having products, we already have. A lot of people are like, oh, then the pharmaceuticals are just going to take over and blah blah. They're already there. We've had THC available by prescription since like the 80s.
Yeah. They had the
And
what was the pill? What is the
It starts with
name
an
of the pill?
M.
Marinol.
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 Yeah, you can still get it. You can still get prescribed it. Same with CBD.
Yeah, they give it to cancer patients.
They're patented, all that stuff. So they already have that section. You know what I mean? What they don't have is like the natural version of it, and that's where like the industry comes in. I don't have a fear of pharmaceutical. I think the pros will far outweigh the cons, especially in Tennessee, and having some ground to talk about. Hey, we're Schedule 6 now; it's not Schedule 1 federally. Like we had a medical program in the 80s here in the state. I love telling legislators that. Hey, don't forget, we had a medical marijuana program.
Wow, I didn't know about
It worked-
that. I was a kid in the 80s.
It was working just fine. And then Dare came along, and pot became bad, or cannabis became bad again.
Oh yeah, the dare. Yeah, I remember that. I was in school when that happened.
Yeah,
I remember that well.
So
McGruff took a bite out of weed.
I remember them. I like.
I can't believe they advertised drugs to me as a child. Is what
Oh
happened.
yeah, they brought him out to the school.
They
showed
brought
them
out
to
a
you.
board the size of this table, flipped up on its side with every piece of crack, cocaine. I don't even know if they had meth.
So
back
if you're trying to get some, make sure it looks like this.
So make sure it's rocked up like that, and I need a device like this to use that for the crack. Okay, what about the needles stuff? Oh, there they are. Okay, so if I'm gonna do the needles, there's the spoon, a lighter, the
gosh.
drug.
We didn't have a board.
It was a class on how to do it. Really,
We didn't have a board like that.
Honestly, I probably think that it just made a lot of kids more interested and intrigued by it because you just taught them about it.
Yeah.
Like it was to me probably one of
Yeah,
the
for sure, 100%.
dumbest things. It did not slow me down from smoking a joint.
I was super interested. I was like, let's go find some of these in the real world.
Yeah, so like, where do I get this from? The convenience store doesn't. I can't steal
Oh
it from
my
there.
gosh.
You know.
That's
Oh my
funny.
goodness,
Yeah, because I was a kid that stole cigarettes. So I mean, like, if they had weed at the convenience store, I probably would have snatched that. Just to, not a good kid. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me either. I was stealing cigarettes and everything else. God, I'm way better than I was now.
Floating around me.
Thanks to good Lord and the Department of Corrections, I'm a much better person now. Right?
Fucking around and finding out what.
Yes, sir. So for you, Kelly, on Schedule 3, will rescheduling benefit legacy hemp operators, or does it open up the door for pharma and MOSs to squeeze us out?
I think you just, in Tennessee, we have to remain active and we have to be engaged in the legislative process. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever they do, they're going to have to bring a bill, and we're going to have to be organized and engaged and supported to make sure that the legacy growers in the hemp industry have a say, and the bill doesn't completely cut out, small business Tennesseans.
I think that's the biggest concern in all markets, is that the small growers are going to be, the small quality growers will be cut out of the market, and all we'll have is Walmart weed from wherever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The goal for me always with legislative, especially when you start getting into limited grows, is to always have that little micro, because as someone who's grown on small and big scale, the micro grows always put out like the tip top.
Yeah, absolutely, because they give the better attention. The giant grows have a lot more complications. Before I dove in, really got so involved in this, my plan was to take my refrigeration knowledge and skill and apply that to grow room air control systems, as far as controlling temperature and humidity.
Cannabis
Mechanical, yeah, that's exactly. Landry, that's where I got the whole idea. I was going to go take the course from him, but I kind of, got the good Lord pulled me in a whole nother direction. So no ladders and torches for me. But that is something else there. One of the things y'all are talking, I really want to cover on the Schedule 3 thing. You guys cover all the legal stuff. Y'all are doing a fantastic job with the Hemp Law Group, the Growers Coalition, in the court. I think that we need more support from the people out there. But I talk to people and take the temperature of the public, and all of them seem to say we got bigger issues. I mean, this is an issue. I've done a lot of time. I can't vote. I can't own no guns to defend my family because of this. I left my whole career. I made a good living as an industrial commercial refrigeration technician to pursue this, So it's something very important to me. And if you're involved in the community and the streets and anything, that being illegal has more of an impact on our community directly than any other topic out there. It funds the local crime and all that other stuff being illegal. It's a huge problem. So it is a major issue. And I think that if people showed up, that just people in general, and let lawmakers know that, because that is the main thing at the end of the day that sways these guys, is who's going to be voting for them. If they don't think it's important, the public says it's not that important, we got bigger issues, guess what's just getting pushed down the line when it comes time to vote on these, because nobody's standing on it, nobody really cares.
And right now we have, right now is the opportunity to get involved in and get educated. Find out who your legislators are. Everybody in the state has a House member and a Senate member. You can find out who they are on capitol.tn.gov.
I do even better than that. I put a QR code on at the end of every one of my videos, not only for the Growers Coalition, for the us.gov, where you can just scan it with your phone and you can put in your information, find your local representatives, get their phone number, and I instruct people to call them, be respectful, let them know you're a single issue voter. Don't answer any other questions. Let them know if they do anything that harms the hemp industry, they won't have their vote. Do it every day if you need to. Just be respectful.
Well, and right now-
call them and remind them that this is something that's important to you.
Yeah,
And-
and less federal and more state. You know, federal is good. It's very difficult to get through to them. Your state people, you can go and visit them during session. They have offices year round. It's much
They're easier to
smaller.
contact, but
Much
it's
easier
just
to
as
Yeah.
important to get in the ears of these federal people. If it's somebody in their office, if you can plant a seed and that starts
Yeah.
going around, it's the way we get things moving, man.
Send them
You
some
know,
cookies,
I did
whatever
time
you need
for
to do.
I did time for stuff that came here in a gas tank and was full of seeds, you know. And we've came a long way for that, and we got to do everything we can to keep people from being locked up. For this.
So right now is the perfect opportunity to figure out who voted for us this past session, because session just ended in April, and we had a bill that obviously rocked the whole entire industry and banned
Absolutely.
THCA flower.
How can we get a list of names of these people and how they
It's on
voted?
Instagram, isn't it?
I don't have Instagram. If you could email me that, I'd love to post
I
that.
have the picture of the vote sheet.
Okay.
And we only lost by 6 votes,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And in about a year, we have a primary election next August. There's a primary election, and so that's what TGC is gearing up for. Is we're gearing up for those elections coming up. Because we really want to support those who supported us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And we want to back them up, make sure they keep their seats because
Right.
hemp is for the people clearly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The lowering that barrier to entry where you, me, anybody can realistically enter this market without having $1 million and all these other crazy
Right.
things that these big MSO multi-state operators come in and bake in
Yeah.
with their lobbying to keep the average person and keep competition
Right.
out of there.
And and exactly, and we really have, and the way to do that is through our relationships. That's a one way that we could defeat big marijuana when they come in a couple years is going to be our relationships.
Yeah, we need to
And
put our feet down now.
Yeah, and we are, we have put our feet down.
Like the people out here,
but
though, you
now
know what I
it's
mean?
time-
Y'all are doing your jobs.
but now
I'm
it's
saying
time.
more people need to take this serious like you guys are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, now it's time for everybody to take this is how serious it is, and we need to really build our coalition to support this. And we're gearing up for the elections. We want to support those who supported us, and not support those who didn't support us. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to get a list of those names, and I'll make community posts.
Yeah, for sure.
And everybody follow the Growers Coalition, Tennessee Growers Coalition on Instagram. Get updates. You can, if you're a Tennessee business, $100 a month, you'll get direct emails and all sorts of information, and you can even go further. There's a lot of ways to support what's going on here, and we'll cover that more at the end. But so on to the future of hemp in Tennessee. So for you, Kelly, what's the Tennessee Growers Coalition's main goals for the rest of 2025? What's the outlook?
Yeah, I mean, really what I just kind of touched on is really getting ready for 2026. We had a tough year. We're working with the Hemp Law Group and trying to get the funding for a lawsuit. And I would, if you're a hemp retailer, there is an opportunity there to get a tax refund. Your customers might be eligible to a refund, and that also might be an opportunity for us to fund a lawsuit against the state. So that's a really good opportunity that you can visit the Hemp Law Group for. Or the Tennessee Growers Coalition. We have some stuff on our website. So really building our case, building our defense for the lawsuit, and building our coalition and getting ready for the 2026 elections. I mean, we have session next year, so obviously we'll have to be ready to play defense, because I'm sure there'll be there'll be more crazy bills coming down the pike that we'll have to defend ourselves
It's
from,
a roller
so,
coaster,
yeah.
right? Like you said, and who knows what'll happen next. The big alcohol just kind of sweeping the South was
Yeah,
Yeah,
and really
that was
keeping them at bay. It's a slippery slope. It's a bad bill, but there are ways around it. I mean, it could be worse. I mean, like
Yeah.
you mentioned,
Yeah.
SB3 in Texas.
Yeah, wiping out everything.
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse.
I think Georgia's in a pretty bad position too. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got rid of THCA completely. It's basically none of that. So yeah, it's it's kind of sad to watch it all go down like that. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like, you know, we've had a really good run here.
Man, hey, it's not over yet.
I was just about to say,
like, yeah, we had.
it's not over yet,
not
and I
out
do
there.
want to touch on one part, which I don't know if you've got in there, and that is the criminality side of it, right? As someone that's always checked his rearview mirrors,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? And for everybody else out there that has used cannabis for their, you know, majority of their adult life has been checking rearview mirrors too.
Okay.
The criminality side hasn't really changed.
Yeah, to segue in that, I got a question and it's going to cover that. What kind of legal protections or bills should Tennessee's hemp businesses and consumers be pushing for right now?
So as soon as we get out of session, it usually there's like it's kind of like the tide recedes. And so we kind of like go into another mode, and because there isn't any active legislation at all, no one has bills right now.
Anything. It just ended. In other words, so there's nothing really.
But what should we do?
They have the whole rest of June. There's a ton of fundraisers. So like, there's a ton of the Republican fundraisers. The House or the Democratic House, or I think it's the House, they have a fundraiser tonight. So really they're hunkering down and raising money. We're taking a beat from fundraisers right now. But because honestly they don't deserve any of our money. They really screwed us over this session.
Yeah.
So that's what the General Assembly is doing right now. But
the big thing is for consumers and for business owners is look at that list, see who voted for that Cochran amendment.
Yeah.
That was really Williams' amendment that took away THCA.
Let me find it and send it to you right now.
So who pens these bills? Are the different senators there, or do you guys have part in like
Penning bills.
and penning these Senate bills and stuff that go through?
Yeah, so we follow. The Tennessee Growers Coalition follows all of that. So,
But I mean, like, who actually is like writing them and getting that? Is it the senator himself, or you guys guiding them
we're helping
in the
them.
process?
We're definitely helping.
But
them
it's
along
like
the
they're
way.
the ones. It's like say, just for instance, one of our senators writes a bill. They're the ones. Their name's going to be on it. It's going to be totally their thing. They may or may not consult you guys, or they may consult somebody else, depending on who's lobbying them.
It depends. I mean,
That's what's going on. Okay,
Yeah,
because I don't really understand this. So I'm a
really
refrigeration
depends.
technician by trade, so
Yeah.
we all, and a lot of people that watch are just regular people.
I didn't understand it all till I got involved either. So it's a lot to understand. So you got like people that were running the bill, Lambert's bill.
Well, I mean, it depends on who your sponsors are. Like, there's like 2,000 bills that get like filed every year. The Tennessee Growers Coalition tracked every single bill that affected the hemp industry, but we have brought like straight up bills that we have written to legislators, and they've just filed that.
Okay, so that does happen. That you guys, y'all pin it.
Sometimes you can work with legal up there at the legislature as well.
But you have to do that through a legislator's office, and there's protocols and stuff. But we directly influence that. But like people like William Lambert's bill, he wasn't friendly to a lot of the amendments, right? So in the committees that he had a lot of influence in, we couldn't really amend the bills that he had the votes in. But it got to commerce, and he didn't have the votes in commerce, and so we were able to work with other people on chairman, legislators on that committee to amend that bill. So
and if you wanna cut and this part and show like me going up against William in the judicial committee. That was probably
if you can give me a clip, I can.
Oh, it's on their side. It's on their side. It was because I held him accountable.
I'll have to. I'll get that clip.
Oh my God, I was dying in the audience. I was like, oh my God,
I walked in with this piece of paper ready to go, and I made sure to show up like right on time, not early. Like I walked in and Kelly's like, "You just got here." I'm like, "I just got here," and she's like, "What are you gonna say?" And I handed her the piece of paper. And it was her and the lobbyist sitting there, and they both look at me.
You cannot say this.
You can't say that. You can't say that. I'm like, Yeah, I can.
I was marking the whole way.
I'm just all pumped up, ready to get him too.
I can't
'cause,
wait. I can't
it was
wait.
such a.
Okay.
Oh, it was so nerve wracking. That's why.
He said he said I'd never get up here and call you a liar. It was that good. Just to tell you how good it was.
Okay.
It was horrifying.
So, is there any like bills to counter what's going on and these pushbacks? You guys got anything ideas for new bills that you're throwing around?
Lawsuit first and foremost.
It's really lawsuit.
Is to kill that bill.
To kill this bill, okay.
Before it goes into effect.
That's the main focus.
So if we were to hey, let's just take a bill to legislature, then that would go into effect January 1st, and then whatever bill did pass might not go into effect until the next January 1st. So it'd be
But you have to,
off there.
Yeah,
so we're trying to beat it.
Those are way down the line.
Yeah, we want to beat it before we get to that effective date via lawsuit.
Yeah.
And with the piece of legislation, you have to remember that this past year, 2025 and 2026, that's one legislative year, and so we're going to have the same General Assembly, the same opponents, the same committee structure.
So to change the strategy a lot once the time comes, once we get that down to the wire, because what I'm wondering is if things stay the way they are as far as what they're doing and we're unsuccessful, do we have anything planned, like another bill to come? Just ideas behind the scenes that we're throwing around of what we're going to do to push forward.
We could bring a bill. I'm just, but it's the same General Assembly, so we're gonna face the
but when
same
the time
exact.
comes, it'll be a different. When the time comes, it'll likely
Not this
be
fall,
different.
not in the 2026, but
2027
will be new people.
Because after the election, and so that's why it's so important
We
for
may not
us to
have-
be involved in the election,
Yeah,
because we eventually.
Exactly.
Those
can
guys
change.
will be voting.
An opportunity to change lieutenant governor, which hasn't happened in
Forever.
30
That's
years
what's kicking
here.
their ass in Texas is Dan Patrick's
Our
insanity.
lieutenant governor has been kicking our ass in here in
What
Tennessee.
nobody's
Yeah.
covering him. I don't even know his name. Everybody in the country. knows
we
Dan
covered him,
Patrick.
and then they covered him up.
What is his name?
Randy McNally.
Randy McNally.
From Oak Ridge.
So he could go. Lambert
And
could go.
he is elderly.
We got lots of old dudes that are getting ready to go out. We got guys with dementia that didn't even have a clue what I was talking to.
There's some insanity that goes on in the like they turn down money for freaking public health just out of spite. They're doing some crazy stuff up there.
Nonsense.
Yeah. Just feuds that have been going on before any of us were born.
They're so corrupt
Probably,
that the previous
Speaker of the House just was held in court, found liable for 6 out of 8 of the crimes, and their opening argument for our previous speaker was, it's so corrupt up there all the time you can't use it against them. That was their opening argument.
Wow.
That's awful.
Wow. Where's the FBI, the Tennessee Walls?
I think
No accountability up there. It is literally no accountability.
Yeah.
this is the first time we've seen some accountability.
And they got so much money flying through there right now with Nashville just booming the way it is. They're just lining their pockets and
Some of them are, yeah. We are lucky enough in our state, and I think most states are probably the same way, in that we do have good legislators that are actually.
because there's not enough on YouTube covering what's happening in Tennessee. I may be moving from here, but who's to say in 2027 I won't be coming back? The plan was to move to Nashville. I got a house on Pensacola Beach on Santa Rosa Island. So the plan was to come here to Nashville, but after the law went the way it did, I was like, we better not, because of my history in Tennessee. Yeah. And I better just get a fresh start in Florida and see where things go.
Come visit.
I've actually got my studio. Y'all could get a I could definitely get y'all a good rental. And that's something that I'm going to be looking into, because my company's really a video production and marketing company. So I'm looking into doing some marketing for the rentals in the area, doing some shorts and stuff like that.
It's also hot as shit down there, so maybe just get that HV.
I'm not touching any touches. That right there. There's so much involved with that. It would diminish my value so much to be focused on refrigeration when I could be doing so much more in the world. I could be of greater service
I agree.
doing what I'm doing right now. So,
I agree, 100%. There's not a lot of people that'll stick their neck out.
Yeah. So yeah, I would. I really loved getting into refrigeration. I love that trade because it combined like troubleshooting science and then hard labor all in the same thing. And so I loved doing it, and I did it for like 10 years. And yeah, I never had a job until I was 36, and I got out of federal prison, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I never filed taxes till I was 38.
It's amazing what you can do when you sell drugs.
Yeah, I started doing that when I don't ever like to talk about how old I was when I got into it because I don't want to promote but promote that. But I was really young when I got into it. Yeah, I was definitely
because it's easy.
under 18.
It's easy money.
Yeah.
It's not. It's.
It was just the way what we were all doing back when.
And it's easy, and it's a little dangerous. You can get and so it's like you get all these things, but in reality, it really isn't putting you forward.
No.
It's putting you backwards.
Oh, I would stay. Yeah, because you know what? It was a terrible world to be in. And I spent decades trying to figure my way out of it, trying to figure out how to get into a legitimate lifestyle. And it took me going to prison and everything being snatched and me being removed from it to figure it out. And, eventually I got led back to cannabis in a whole different way, on a legal side of the things. And one of the things I stole from Kyle Cushman is don't break laws, change them. And so that's what we do here is we push for laws. We push to free that plant, right?
Yeah.
So all right. Question on the future here for both of you guys. What does the ideal fair and thriving hemp program look like moving forward? What can like somebody entering the hemp industry? Currently in the hemp industry, what is their program going to look like to stay compliant and thrive and expand moving forward here in the state of Tennessee?
I think a lot of people are going to do well because what they have created, if the law sticks the way it is, what they have created is a giant edible market. Mm-hmm. The way that they've opened up the law is, they're going to be able to have it in kegs and serving it anywhere that has an ABC license. So just any bar that, and it's already legal kind of to do so, but they lined it out for like how big the keg can be and how many servings and all this other stuff to the point where there's no place in Tennessee that can't easily serve you milligrams of THC.
Yeah.
So that is really cool and unique in that like a bar owner, a restaurant, like different places are going to be able to sell this stuff.
They're going to be more comfortable to do so. So that is a good side of things with the ABC on the drinks and edibles, I think.
A lot of people have, look at cannabis and say it stinks and all that, where all these edible and drink products don't smell. And so they're going to be able to, enjoy them and not have, feel like there's a stigma attached to them stinking up a place.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that only do drinks and edibles because they don't like the smell. Yeah. They don't like to smoke. A lot of people only do dabs, like only do Puffco dabs and that's it. Like they don't want to see a torch or any of that. You know what I mean? It's just there's the landscape of cannabis users is really
it's broad.
It's very
from grandma's taking 5 milligrams a night on a gummy.
There's a community inside of every community like every community out there. Every culture has its own cannabis culture in it, and like everybody. Mm-hmm. There's nobody out there that doesn't have like weed smokers and their and their family and their friends. They may not, but there's
But then again, they may at one point. So I've had family members get cancer, and the first things they do is hit me up. The first time that they actually start battling with chemo, and they're like, "Holy shit, I need some help." They're gonna hit me up. So like people come around, people change. My family, I can say, like my mom, always been a weed smoker, but the rest of my family, not so much.
My mom has always been a weed smoker.
Probably sitting in her chair packing a bowl right now. But the rest of my family, not so much. Like my sister, for many years, thought negatively because of my cannabis use. Well, then she had kids, She figured out she really didn't want to keep drinking wine every night as her chill pill. So she started a cannabis tincture, and I think it was like a D8 tincture she started with. Now she's all about it. You know what I mean? And so like,
I know a lot of people
we can
like
destigmatize without having to shove flour down people's throats.
Yeah.
And if that wins us votes to open up the industry, there is some pros to what could happen. The cons are obviously the opportunity is that we could lose flour, we could lose like good vapes and all these other products that really drive all the sales in a lot of.
I think it's more of a temporary loss, but I'd hate to lose it at all. And the thing is, it's the businesses, it's the people that are going to be affected. It's not just losing that vape on the shelf and the availability. There's so many thousands of jobs and families. I'm moving to Florida. You know, I mean, because I planned to move to Nashville, but now I'm going to Florida because of my history in Tennessee. I'm a smoker. And if it's illegal here, I know I'll be targeted like pretty quick as soon as law enforcement, if they don't already know of me, they will be coming after me pretty hard.
I wish you had asked me about it because Davidson County doesn't. I get out of a Preds game, you know what I do? I fire up a joint.
Maybe, but the TBI may give a little more of a care than the Davidson County does.
It depends on what you're up to.
Right. So, like, if you're rolling around town doing personal stuff.
But I'm running a YouTube channel combating and talking about these legislators and everything else. I'm also a felon with all that stuff in my house. And they could easily, I've been raided and I've got a record of being actively engaged in sale. It'd be really easy for them to put a case on me, and it would be too easy, not anything that I would be willing to risk. You know?
So, just so you know, for them to have done that inside of Davidson County, they would have had to get the DA to sign off on it still. And Glenn Funk doesn't mess with people over small personal amounts. Definitely wouldn't pick on you over personal history. That being said, I'm very happy to be in Davidson County right now, where I'm not worried. So I pull over, the officer gets there, and y'all, I stunk. Like I was just smoking a joint, a honker of a joint, and I was halfway through it.
Oh my God.
He doesn't even mention the fact that I smell like a joint. Not
how many marijuana felonies do you have on your record?
None, but at the same time, like a lot of it's about.
I get pulled over, and the immediate thing is, so you step out of the car, and they see my record, and then they see my federal charges, and they can't see what those are for. So they're like, this guy's been in federal prison. And then they call in another car.
I am, knock on wood.
And then like I got pulled over in Mississippi a couple months ago. They took me, my family, my dog, we had a load of CB lotion, bringing it back. I was purchasing from a wholesaler there in Mississippi, had my car loaded with all the lotions, and they just pulled me over and said they smell marijuana. Said they smell marijuana, and it's actually illegal to search based on smell in the state of Mississippi. There was a Senate bill that was passed. I believe it's 4328 Senate bill enacted in 2023 in July 1st, and they have to have more than just the smell of cannabis to search a car. But they pulled me out, didn't even write me a ticket, put my kids and my wife in the back of the car and my dog.
Oh my goodness.
Had me sitting out in the front. Yeah, it was cold. We were just driving home, and they, got in there, poked all around. Of course, didn't find anything except lotions and, topicals. And then took off, didn't write a ticket, nothing. It was like, what in the world,
God.
I called you about it. I spoke to Alex on it, but I didn't even. It was so quick, and I was scared. First thing I asked, as soon as they got me behind the car. And I could tell the way he was escalating and the way he was going on. I just looked at him and I said, what's going on here? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do today? Because you just pulled me over, and now all of a sudden you got me out and you're asking me a whole bunch of questions. What's going on? I'm traveling with my family and going home. I'm trying to get home. And then that's just like, well, I smell marijuana in the state of Mississippi. We can search on that. And he asked me if I consented to search. I said, no, I don't consent to a search. I'm not going to let you take all this product out and leave me out here in the cold, reloading my car, on some highway in Mississippi.
On some BS.
Yeah. And then to top things off, it was right after the election. My wife is Filipino. My kids are they're all immigrants. My wife is getting ready to do her citizenship. They're fucking terrified. They're terrified. They think they're fixing to go to a fucking camp somewhere or some shit,
Oh, shit.
And now my dog's fucking like barking and acting crazy. He's all got anxiety. People watch the show know Benji, so he's on there all the time. But it was that was quite an experience. That's something I really want to push for in every state is not being able to search based on the smell. It's just something that's bullshit they use to violate people's rights. There's no way that you cannot get that evidence, that smell, and say that you bring that to court as evidence. Exhibit A is the smell of cannabis that all of us verified with our noses.
The Growers Coalition has brought that bill a couple times.
Yeah, we have. Yeah. We did it. We tried to change.
Need more public support. I don't think people understand
They don't.
how that is being exploited to violate people every day.
Yeah.
If you look back at history, good changes were made when people showed up to legislature in droves.
Yeah.
And
That's what they got to do. When we showed up to court, I was really disappointed at the lack of people, just common citizens and business owners. As many businesses we have in the state of Tennessee, that whole building should have been just packed with people.
Finished paying for that lawsuit. Like the businesses of the state that are benefiting from it right now haven't even finished giving their funds that they said they would for that lawsuit. That's how frustrating it is, TJ.
It's pretty crappy.
Yeah.
Because they're making.
They're making
some money.
bank.
They're making some money. They're making some big bank.
We're at the point where I think it's like, it's well under $20K left on that, but like,
If you want to do a lawsuit,
That shouldn't be a problem at all for the and what in the world is the industry doing out here? That's what hurts me. I don't feel like even the industry people are taking it seriously. They're just they're giving up before the fight. That's something I see a lot. A bill just gets an idea gets thrown out there, and you get a bunch of people parroting off that it's already law.
that's the way it's going to be.
And that's the way it's going to be. And that's a huge problem we have in the community. So that one person echoes, and then you got 100 people who don't show up, 100 people who don't speak up, who just, and that we should never be speaking negativity on this stuff about what the future is going to be.
A word of encouragement is, this time last year, I didn't think that we would be alive.
that's true.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
My hope was that, and just to make it through this, when I quit my job in September, was to make it to the end of the year, buy a pound for myself to smoke personal, and then go into business doing agriculture grow room air control. And I've got way more than a pound to smoke. And I'm not climbing ladders and touching torches anymore.
If it does go through, everybody get you
more than I've ever
4
thought.
to 6.
It's good QPs are your favorite flower.
Yeah.
And just know that possession won't change.
Yeah. So I always tell people, just if you don't need to travel with it, don't travel with it. Just stay at home. Most people are my age, or they're not riding around a lot anyways with it.
And if you are, know your state's laws.
Yes, absolutely. And know your local law enforcement's temperature.
Keep it in its original packaging and have a receipt.
Yeah. And have a receipt.
Yep.
And have a receipt.
Now,
That's crazy. How do you do that if you purchase online? You can have it in an email.
Yeah. Digital receipt.
Okay, digital receipt. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Invoice even.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
A receipt and a compliant packaging.
Original.
Which, yes,
Compliant.
original
So,
compliant packaging, and compliance has to have that QR code.
I guess
Yeah.
compliant.
So like compliant, not compliant, right?
Yeah. That's just a house sample.
Original.
That's a market.
The original packaging, house sample.
Yeah.
Legal to be on
Carried,
on the side of the
sold
road.
on the.
Should stay at home.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, that's pretty clear.
Yeah, same goes with flour. So you
Yeah.
can, as long as that Mylar package is good, you're good, right?
One thing I wanted to cover was the laws that you guys have had direct impact on, and the one thing that was most interesting, I did a video about, was the ability that we have in the state of Tennessee to smoke smokable hemp flower anywhere that you can smoke tobacco. And when Kelly told on the last time you guys joined me, we weren't in the same room together, but y'all told me about that, and I was totally blown away. I immediately did a video in front of the DA office in Memphis, sitting on a park bench. I rolled a joint.
Let's see if this actually works.
We immediately did a real life experiment.
You didn't get arrested.
No, I didn't. Nobody said a word to me. Nobody came down.
They were walking right past you, you know.
I just sat out there, smoked my
Did
joint,
they see-
told
was
about
it-
the
was
law.
It was it like
it was
during
great.
business hours?
Yeah, it was daytime. It was broad daylight. It was a nice, bright, beautiful, sunny day.
I love that.
I sat on the bench. I had the Raymond James building. That's where they're
Yeah.
housed in Memphis. I know personally because they took me there to
Right,
try,
yeah, for sure.
So I sat there with it in the background, and I, smoked my joint and told about the law, and
So let's see.
I really enjoyed it. It was really awesome after doing federal time and being put. Those
Yeah.
guys marched me down from that DA headquarters down Front Street to the federal building in shackles and handcuffs.
Holy
Yeah,
crap.
from the Raymond James building to the federal building.
Wow.
Yeah, and me and my charge partners, and I never was caught with a gram. I was in a conspiracy. Yeah, so it was, wow. To be able to sit out there and smoke that joint after experiencing that it was really something. That's why I'm so passionate about this. I feel like, I did time, so hopefully nobody else has to.
Yep, you
Yeah.
learn and tell those stories. I love when people do that. Timeline of Tennessee hemp and laws that have been passed. So like me and a lady named Colleen Lanier worked together from 2013, tail end of 2013 until 2017. 2018, me and Kelly met. And so we passed the original hemp law in 2014, which kind of created the program in 15. Then we also
It was a
passed
pilot project or pilot program.
and it was all certified genetics, so it was all like seed and fiber varieties. And then we passed a bill that allowed universities to grow outside of that in 16. I think it might have been 16 we passed that one. 17, I'm not sure if we passed anything, or was it 18 that we passed the farm bill?
That was 19.
19 we did. There was another bill in between there. I can't remember what it was.
My first session was 19. We started in 18, but my first session was 19.
Oh,
and
I
we
know
passed
what it
the
was.
smokable hemp law. It was in the farm bill.
We passed the ag feed bill.
Yeah,
in
that's it.
17.
Yeah.
That allowed you to feed hemp seed feed
the animals.
To animals.
For not for commercial, but for
Well, it was for commercial, but only in Tennessee. So you could sell it, and that was the problem. Is
It's
there was
only
lots of
in-state
there was
sales.
a lot
That's
of
a huge
limitation.
limitation when you can only
Yeah,
sell
it was
in-state.
hugely limiting, and it was like pending.
Especially with the geographical, like so many states touching Tennessee,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the
And we're a
we always
feed-based
market
state.
to our neighbors.
So
Yeah.
a lot of our feed that we make in-state goes out of state as far as livestock feed goes. So that was the concern there.
Yeah.
And then Kelly came in and we did the farm bill, the
You got-
smokable hemp.
and the farm bill just got us up to date with Congress. Then we did the smokable hemp. William Lambert, the smokable hemp bill, when it got to the floor, he sent it back to finance. Do you remember that? He tried to kill it and sent it back to finance.
Yep.
And wanted to tax it.
He also had an
and we-
anti-DA bill
and
around
we
that
built
time.
and we beat him, and we got it back to the floor, and it passed.
Yep. And
Lambert's been the one flip flopping on us. He'll be.
He's always been against
He's always
us.
been-
And I mean, that's the one thing that
okay,
you
okay.
can. I mean, that's the one thing about William Lambert is that
He's consistently against
consistent.
it.
You always know where he is.
Yeah, you always know where he stands. He is not for him.
Yeah, like he is against us.
we literally shake hands, and even in committee, if you look it up and see it, you'll be like, Clint, now me and you, we'll probably never see eye to eye on this issue. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, probably not.
Probably not ever.
He wants to be the Sumner County DA, and I really hope he gets to be that.
Yeah. He gets his, but he gets his.
Yeah, to get to get out of the legislature. That would be helpful.
That'd be nice.
That would be productive, right?
And I'll stay out of Sumner County.
Question, Kelly. How long have you been the director at the Tennessee Growers Coalition? Because I remember seeing you on the Nashville News years ago.
Yeah.
So,
I found it along with some others, the Growers Coalition, in October of 2018. So
Okay.
we're coming up on our 7-year anniversary this year.
Okay, yeah, it's been. I remember seeing clips on like Facebook and YouTube way before I got involved, and I'm only 15 months. It feels like 15. Wow, it feels like forever, but only 15 months involved doing my YouTube and really exploring the hemp law and the the national cannabis market and what's going on out here. So that's how long you been at the Hemp Law Group, and how long have they been around?
I've been there for
About
10
a year?
months.
Oh.
Right at a year. They came together right about when I started.
Right when you started? Okay.
It's kind of
Alex is awesome. I did like
Yeah, it's
watching
like a
him in
super
court
group,
is
man.
like, man,
Yeah.
he is
he's great.
If you had been in Nashville around that time, he probably would have prosecuted you. So he was a federal drug prosecutor.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he took down a lot of folks.
I bet he did.
He's on the other side of that now.
So now we got the super group of
Wow.
now he's defending that and is obviously an expert at it.
Yes,
and then we've got
absolutely. He's really good.
and then
He's
we got
great.
Zach Lawson, who was basically like a young protege of Alex's and has just come up alongside him. He was actually his paralegal.
And he just cooked those agriculture attorneys. Just cooked
yeah.
them. It was.
And then
It was like, you were just cheering him on. It was just so good to watch him just
was
kill
good.
him. God.
He's fun to watch.
Yeah, he did kill it.
And then Joey Fuson, who has been a longtime street attorney here in Tennessee, supporter of cannabis and cannabis law change, and also has gotten a lot of my friends reduced.
Yeah.
He's the guy to go to if you get a cannabis charge in Tennessee. So having having the three of those and
It's the super group. It's the super group. Yeah.
So I've been lucky to be there. I've been active.
Yeah, and you're like a compliance specialist. You basically like a consultant. You help businesses.
Just came along. I'm doing all this stuff all
compliant.
over the years with the laws and the rules and regs and the departments, and have lucky to be there for those conversations and understand the law really well because I was worried about going to jail.
Yeah, and you got a passion for it, obviously. So
Yeah.
you're on top of.
Yeah. And
know
so
what's going on.
just got lucky enough to work with them.
Yeah, it's a man. How awesome is it to be in this world? You know what I mean? It's a dream to like what you love to. This thing to have this as your like way to make a living and
but also
impact the world and
catalyst-
just like
catalyst for
it's
change.
such a cool thing to be involved
I would
in.
probably be a green building architect making a lot of money right now if it wasn't for cannabis.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that my daughter could look back and go, look what my daddy helped do. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Versus like he just had a really good job, made a lot of money.
And hid in his room and smoked weed.
I never told anybody about it. Never did anything to try and it's like my mom, man. She won't vote to fix it, but she sits there and hides in her house all day, every day.
That's what I'm talking about. Is people that are still hiding. That we've got to be people want to talk about how they're going to get off and smoke a beer around the water, or drink a beer. You see what I'm thinking about, right? So people talk about drinking a beer, having a glass of wine after they get off work, but people always never talk about taking a fat dab or whatever, because fear of the stigmatization around, and that's something we got to get rid of, man.
Yeah.
Come on, it's 2025.
If I could have it my way, TJ, I'd look these legislators in the eye and go, I took the fattest dab before I came in here. And I can out-talk you and outwit you any day of the week.
Shut up.
That's fantastic.
Like I said, anywhere I go.
You're so
Okay, we got to wrap this thing up. We've been going like an hour and a half. I got to get back
we're done
get back to my little town in the middle of nowhere. So, last question for both of you. What's the one thing you wish every small hemp business owner understood right now? What's the one thing you wish they could understand that's confusion on the landscape of things moving forward?
time to act is now. If you haven't been involved, if you haven't been involved up to this point, it's not too late to join. If you're a retailer, join and learn more about the hemp legal defense and joining that to get that potential tax refund back. Just join the Tennessee Growers Coalition so you know what's going on.
Yeah, know what's happening. Yeah, because people don't know. They're so tuned into their business, their market, they don't. Things creep up. When this law went through, I went to Buds and Brew Memphis, and the owner there didn't even know. He had no clue that his business was done. And he's not even a member of the Growers Coalition, Buds and Brew Memphis. So I'm like, brother, what are you doing? You just opened and now you're shutting, and you didn't you didn't even understand what was going on.
People are very, particularly in this industry, people are very isolated in their own little bubbles. And
Still scared. Part of that is people are.
Yeah, but we're here to help you navigate that. Like we're the political action. We're in there, doing the business with the legislators and making sure. We did have a major setback this year, but our members knew what was going on every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So, our members aren't scared. Our members have already pivoted. You have to know what's going on so you can pivot. And,
exactly.
And these elections are very, very important.
So I was about to say, you got the opportunity is to get new people in the primary. If there is one goal that I could have for the industry, it'd be get people elected, get people in the primary that are pro-cannabis, that are GOP,
and take that list that I sent
and
you,
I'll post it.
And look and see where who your legislator is and how they voted, and if you're a small business person, you can support them. If they voted in support of us, let's double down and really support them and build that relationship, because we're going to need them in the future.
Yep. Go to a fundraiser, hand them a check.
Yeah.
And if they voted against it, go to a fundraiser and hand someone else a check.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about, is giving checks to good people and giving checks to bad people's opponents.
Yeah. And I know people
that are pro cannabis. That's if you want the industry to change, and that doesn't mean just vote Democrat. That's not what I'm saying. But that's the problem, is that it's
that's the problem, is people politicize it and they use it as a talking point and then when it comes time for these people to get voted, it's not that big of an issue. It's not that big of an issue.
And it's bipartisan. We have support. We have strong, solid support on the Republican side, and we got opposition on the Democratic side too. There were in that of those 6, I know at least 2, 3 Democrats didn't vote or voted no.
Yep.
So
it's both ways. It's both ways. It's just something that they use to. That's the first way that they combat the cannabis, is divide and conquer with the 2-party thing. Yeah. They make it a Democrat Republican issue. Yeah, but then they get everybody. That's every issue though. That's every issue.
Don't forget that we're all close to the same age, right? Mm-hmm. Every presidential candidate, I know felons can't vote, right? But every presidential candidate that has won has gone around and said throughout their election that they were pro-medical marijuana and that they were going to make change. Every president that I've had since I was 18 has said that, and none of them have done it. The Hollywood of Trump being pro-cannabis is...
Pam Bondi, she's not pro-cannabis, is she?
I think they go either way. I think if people need to get in his ear with how much of a market share farmers are getting with that, because I believe that him being a business person, knowing that it's going to affect businesses in such a negative way, he will use that more sensibly than a lot of your everyday legislators.
I would hope that the business
I would hope
gets him to change the 280E and fix it where they can have write-offs, because these cannabis, these legal cannabis businesses are dying left and right because they can't write anything off.
Yeah, they can't bank. They
can't write off their workforce. They can't write off their lease. They can't write off anything.
It's such a crazy market. It really is. But okay,
so to knowingly get into that's nuts.
Yeah. Well, so I guess a final question I got is, how can people support the work you guys are doing, and what do they need to be watching for?
Follow TGC, follow the Growers Coalition, support her. You don't have to be a business to support the change. That's the money that she gets is accounted for. There's other people out there that don't do as good of a job with that. She does it ethically. She runs a clean pack. I don't have to worry about Kelly doing anything wrong. She's above board and is doing really the will of the people. Okay. Some people look at PACs and think, it's just bought and paid. It's not.
to be a member in her board, you have to pay a certain amount, and everybody gets a vote, and nobody gets to buy out the votes. So when it's done correctly, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So can people directly support the current lawsuits through the Tennessee Growers Coalition?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'll be sure to.
Yep. You can do a one-time donation. You can join as a member.
Reoccurring
Yeah,
donations?
reoccurring donation. You have to renew yours.
Yes.
Doing that, and then also, I mean, if you're a hemp retailer, you really should look into the tax refund program that the hemp law group's doing. Consumers, maybe your consumers,
Do you have information on the Tennessee Growers Coalition about that?
we do. Yep. Consumers may be eligible for a refund, and that money could also potentially go to a lawsuit that would fund a lawsuit against this state law. And this is all based on the injunction that Alex and Zach with Tennessee Growers Coalition, we were the main plaintiff of the hemp flower lawsuit.
I was there. I was there in January. Not January, but December rather.
Yeah.
To witness that, and that was so awesome to be there for that. That judge was. I mean, it was just. I wish there were a video of that. That was so great.
Right.
There's those little moments that, like, the reason why you felt that way about, like, I can't believe there wasn't more people in it here.
Yeah.
I feel that way when I go to these things that are like state government, because you look around the room and you're like, where are y'all at?
Yeah.
And then you go through the process of being there for that event, lawsuit, whatever it is, and you're like, I wish more people had been there for this.
I think there's a lot of people just don't know. They don't know everything that's going on, and the government likes it that way because they can do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough to follow court cases if you don't have it on the news every day.
Yeah.
You know, that's where it's at.
True that. Yeah. If it's not just being bombarded in one of your news feeds, it's
So follow Hemp Law Group. Follow Tennessee Growers Coalition.
And I'll send me tons of your reels and stuff like that, and I'll repost them on my YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And get that stuff out there more. I got audience over 20,000, so we can definitely get it in front of more people's eyes. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And really just hunkering down, saving money, trying to get this lawsuit going, and just preparing to save hemp, and to get prepared for any medical or full legalization, fights or bills that might come down the pike too. We gotta stay ready.
Yeah. People need to definitely tune in the Growers Coalition to stay, informed on all that in Tennessee, because things happen really fast. This thing came out of nowhere. This bill, it just came out of nowhere.
William Lemmerth had made promise after promise.
It was alcohol did this. They came through and they swept the South with this. Is exactly what happened.
Law enforcement. Heck of a combination, right?
It was that off the top rope Jimmy Snuka
alcohol and
move they did.
Just coming together like it's just little church
Modern
and state.
This modern day mafia.
Wow. Well,
There's nothing like a good drunk officer going home and beating his wife too.
Wow.
Especially when
that's a whole other. There's channels dedicated to
that.
Right.
We just had a former officer in Rutherford County who became an ADA beat his girlfriend and threatened to kill her with a gun.
Wow. Oh my God.
So, hey.
That's horrible.
I'm not saying all law enforcement officers, because I know plenty that are.
There's plenty that are good guys and they're trying to do the right thing.
They're doing the right thing.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, they're all people, and there's assholes out there, just like there's great people.
To the ones that abuse their power.
And thank God for the good ones out there, because, man, people complain about our police, but go travel internationally and find out.
We still have the issue of backing the blue and the blue backing each other, and them hiding each other's atrocities.
Yeah.
So if you go to if you go to a police force as a police officer, and you say, hey, I don't like the way this is being done, this person's doing this, you're going to find yourself in a desk job real quick. And if you keep it up, they're going to start giving you the crappiest work until you don't even want to come to work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what they do.
It's just like any other job. When you ruffle
But you know where the one place that shouldn't happen?
They want you to
That's the one place.
Public service office.
Not in a public service office, where they're the ones in charge of
directly protecting our families and
defending
us.
the laws,
Yeah.
and they're the ones actually abusing it. So
Yeah.
there's that part to the hierarchy and the way they treat it as a military family as a police officer.
There it is for sure.
I got issues with that.
Yeah. Well, guys, man, I appreciate y'all having me here in the joint efforts, hosting us for this.
Yeah, it's been
this was
great.
awesome. I think we answered a lot of questions. I learned a ton about what's going on. Hopefully, people at home have learned a ton as well. So, appreciate you,
Yes,
Clint,
sir. Yes, sir.
Kelly.
Yeah,
I look
thank you.
forward to getting back together with y'all.
Yeah.
You guys at home, be sure to check out the Growers Coalition, support them, join the Growers Coalition. Doesn't matter what state you live in, you can support it. Tennessee is a very key state, just like Texas, when it comes to the hemp industry. And we all know that. And if you don't know, you should know. So it's a big deal to support. And that's why I really want to continue to highlight you guys, even though I'm leaving the state. Who knows where the future will bring me.
Hey, and we can come visit you in
been a while.
Florida.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a wild decade. So
Yeah, it has been, man. Wow. Wow. 10 years ago, I didn't think I was ever going to smoke weed again. And look where I am now, right?
Look what you did to us.
Man, what? Man, thanks again, everybody. Until the next one, I will catch y'all then. Peace.